I promise you the conversation goes on during the commercial breaks. That's what happens over here because we have a coffee house attached to the studio. We're right on Michigan Avenue between Cedar and Larch in the Gillespie Group Stadium District building. And see, there are two gentlemen walking in ties right now who looked over and said, wait, I just wanted a cup of coffee. How did I end up on the radio? That's how it happens here for this hour, but they're not on the radio. You're all right. Okay, Amanda Wall is in the coffee house with the wireless microphone, and she is visiting with a great number of the business people who are there. Who's in the coffee house? What's going on over there?
Good morning, Michael Patrick. We are here with some of the other members of the Mid-Michigan Business Rap. Can we start with you and give us your name and where you're from?
Scott Farragon from Cartridge World.
And you want to talk about what you guys are kind of chatting about at the table a little bit?
Busted.
It was actually kind of boring. We were talking about printer cartridges, and then Amanda and I were talking about advertising on MTV that she's been seeing for the store. So.
Oh.
There have been some new commercials during the Jersey
MTV.
Shore, which is a guilty pleasure.
Did you say on TV or MTV?
MTV.
MTV.
Yeah, the supposed music channel.
Did you see the nominations for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame came out yesterday? Did you see that?
I didn't see it. I did hear you talking about it this morning, though.
Alice Cooper, Beastie Boys, Neil Diamond, Bon Jovi. Any of those good with you?
Yeah, quite a few of them are.
If you had to pick one of the four, which would it be?
Probably Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi. That's a good answer, sure.
One for Bon Jovi. Let's find out.
I'm going with
what's
Neil
on the rest of
Diamond,
the
just in
tent.
case anybody wondered. Love on the Rocks.
Neil Diamond for sure.
All right, there's two.
And can you give us your name and where you're from?
Yeah, my name's John Zaworski. I'm with Care Minders Home Care here in Lansing, Michigan.
Thank you for coming by.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nice to see you there at the head of the table already, too.
Kim Lafarette with Coldwell Banker Hubble Briarwood, and my vote is for Alice Cooper. I want to keep it in Michigan.
All right.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that because, hey, Kim, rock and roll never forgets.
Yes. No, it doesn't.
All right.
Good morning. Scott Danik, Trubilcock and Danik, and I will vote for Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond, there's three. I thought he was going to say Beastie Boys.
He does look like a Beastie Boys fan.
Yeah, I think so.
Good morning, Carrie Colligan, Fox 47, and I will have to go with Bon Jovi, I think.
Two Bon Jovis. Very
That's
good.
three Bon Jovis.
Three? And three Neil Diamonds?
Three Bon Jovis, two Neil Diamonds.
No, there's three Neil Diamonds.
Three Neil Diamonds.
Yeah, so this is the tiebreaker.
I'm Julie Spangler. I'm with Freeborough Automotive, and I would have to go with Neil Diamond.
Sweet Caroline. You might have to wait a minute. There's a guy who was on music radio in the city of Detroit. He knows his music. Does he? You know the four choices? These are people who are nominated.
I do.
All right.
Alice Cooper will get in.
Alice Cooper. So that's what we have two of those.
And the one who should get in and still isn't nominated, Kiss.
No kidding.
Never been nominated.
I'll be darned.
Wow.
That ain't right.
Yeah, it's not.
Neil Diamond's the winner. Let's hear it for Neil Diamond. Okay. Now, I want to talk to Peggy Doty because I know that you're a huge fan of Michigan State. You go to all the football games and everything, and the good news today to share was that Mark D'Antonio's back to work little by little. He's going to be coaching this weekend against Wisconsin from the press box.
I saw that. That was good news.
Yeah.
Very good news.
Sooner than a lot of people thought, I think.
I'm probably sooner than his wife would like to.
Yeah.
This is a big game, though. I think it'd be pretty hard. I think it'd probably be more stressful for him to watch it at home than to watch it from up above.
Does your husband, Gary, ever say, hey, Peggy, why don't you just take a little break here? I'm getting worried about you. You're working too hard.
Yes, he does.
You look after each other that way?
Yeah, we do. We don't always listen to each other, but we have different responsibilities. So, a lot of mine is more accounting driven, a lot more dates, but his is more sales driven, so he has more demands from the customers. So we each have our own balancing act. And yeah, if I see he's pushing it too hard, obviously, he knows he's doing it, but sometimes you need a reminder.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a health issue like that, I just think that's such a wake-up call. Mark D'Antonio is 54 years old. He's in great shape. He's the picture of health for that age, and for something to happen to him means it can happen to anybody.
Bizarre, isn't it?
It was really strange.
What about everybody else? How do you balance work and your home life? And does it ever get in the way? Does work ever cause strife at home?
I kind of, as brought up that way, this is Bob Hedlund from Hedlund Plumbing. I've kind of looked at it. There's times that, yes, you need to, do things up and beyond, but especially when the kids were little, I've always had a rule that, whatever I have going, we'll be there the next day, and I'm going to be home for dinner. and just always had that rule. And if I have to go in early, I'll go in earlier, as if I'm in the office every morning at 6, as if that's not early enough. But
Yeah.
if I got to go in beforehand, I'll be in there and catch up that way. But when it comes to nighttime, that is family, and it's always home by dinner, and spend the time with the kids and stuff. And that's just brought up that way, and it's always that it's very, very important.
You're Cheryl, a woman on the go. You're at lots of charity events. You're at the dealership late. You live, 45 minutes
Right.
drive away. How do you manage all that?
The one thing is that I've been doing it for 30 years, so my husband's always seen me work long hours. I'm actually working shorter hours than I used to just when I was selling cars, because you had to be there from 8 to 9, and I'd get home at 10 o'clock. So I'm getting home earlier. He does encourage me to exercise because he sees the stress, so he thinks that's a really good way to help. And I played hooky Monday and at the last minute and went fishing with him. And so we had a great day doing that.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't notice it because I keep it hidden pretty well. But we do have an agreement that once I get home from work at night, we don't discuss work because he wants to know what's going on with the business, because it is our business. I mean, we're both invested in it. But we do have an agreement that I've been busy all day. I'm not going to talk at night.
Oh.
So
when do you catch up?
We catch up sometime mornings because I'm a real morning person. And on the weekend, we'll have a couple conversations about what's going on. But he knows that once I get home at night, I'm pretty tired of talking about it and thinking, and that's my time to relax. So we've come to that agreement only recently through all we've gone through. So I really appreciate that because I don't want to talk about it once I get home. I just want to be there with him and just relax.
And wind down.
Wind down.
Otherwise, you won't be able to sleep. You'll be
Right.
thinking about
Right.
business ideas.
And that's
right.
where the green tomatoes come in.
That's where the green tomatoes come in,
Yeah.
the canning, cooking, doing that. I made
Yeah.
pasta. I made actually pasta sauce this weekend with the red tomatoes because we've got late tomatoes. Anyway, but we don't want to talk about gardening.
How about it? Family
Yeah.
challenges?
Well, I have a son who's 9, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
look at him going, "Oh my God, how did you get to be 9?"
Yeah.
So I really do. I do work a lot of evenings. I work a lot of hours because obviously owning my own business, I'm the worst boss I ever had. But I really try to get home on some evenings so I can help him with his homework, and the weekends I really don't work because that's his time for me. So
Well, on one hand, he's watching you work. He's seeing that
Yes.
you own a business. He's seeing that you're responsible, I guess,
Yes.
subliminally,
Yeah.
that would carry over.
yeah,
right?
when I was working on my master's degree, he was 3 when I started with that, and I was going through so much guilt because I was a single parent and I had a 3-year-old and I was working full time.
Yeah.
And I had somebody say that to me. He's like, he's watching you work really hard to get what you want out of life, and he does. Yeah, I already see him. I mean, he's struggling to pass 4th grade right now, but I can see him already setting goals for himself. down the road.
Speaking, Cheryl here, speaking on that line, I remember my son when he was a teenager, he looked at me one day and said, "Mom, I'm never going to be a workaholic like you. I'm never going to work 24 hours like you do." And today he owns his own business, and he said, "Man, now I know," and he works 24 hours, and he said, "Now I see." And I think him seeing that does help them to be better children when they grow, better adults when they grow up. And now he's working, and I tease him now. I said, "Oh, mister, I'm not going to work 24 hours a day like you. Look at what you're doing now." So it's funny how that comes around, but I think that's a good example.
But I think it also comes back to the balance, like Mary was saying, when owning your own business gives you flexibility. When our daughter
Yes.
was growing up, I mean, if we needed to be at any school function, we just scheduled around it. And as Bob said, if you had to go in early, you went in early. If you had to take a few hours on the weekend, Karen was always top priority. We did not
Absolutely.
miss one football game, basketball game, any of her events. She was number one. And I think when they see that you can balance owning a business and being a good family parent, I think it goes a long ways into
Yes.
adulthood.
Yes.
Well, I think that carries over not only for us owning and running the business, but I try to do that with my employees too. People will come and say, "You know what? I have a guy that his last year was his first year daughter going into 1st grade, and they want to be home to see the first day to see him get on the bus.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'll schedule around it. Nothing that we have is so important that we can't be a couple hours late, and people understand, contractors understand. So it and that's why I think it's really important that
Our
as
dispatcher's
owners, it
daughter
carries
started
over.
kindergarten this
Yep.
year, and she didn't say anything. But the week before, I said, "Don't you want to be there when Riley gets goes to school the first day? She said, well, I'd like to be. And I said, well, you're going to be.
Yep.
That's, in the last 2 days, she was sick, and her husband happened to be out of town, and she wasn't contagious. She says, do you mind if I bring her in? So she sat at the desk and watched Tinkerbell, and those are the things you get to do, because you can't be so rigid that.
And I
Right.
think in these
Right.
tough times, too, I know a lot of my managers and people that work for me aren't making the same amount of money they were making 2 years ago. So the one thing I can give them is that flexibility.
Right.
And I've got one manager whose son plays hockey, and you know what that means. His
Yeah.
son plays hockey, his daughter
You know
plays
about that.
basketball, and
Right.
so giving them back that is one of the things. Not only in the tough times does it help them accept what's going on, but even in good times. I have people that work for me for 18 years, and I think I have to believe one of the reasons is that flexibility that I never had when I worked for somebody else.
I didn't
really
either.
didn't.
I didn't either.
And you're so restricted. And I remember having vacations that I had planned 2 days ahead, and them saying, you can't go on vacation, we need you here. And I actually had canceled vacations in my lifetime because of that. So I think giving back to that's what small business owners can do. That's the real quality of working for a small business.
Well, you actually know your employees, you know their families,
right.
so it's
versus a
you have
big corporation
right.
that you can't do those things with.
You
so
have a vested interest.
Our small business owners, we can do those things for our employees and keep the best people working for us for a long time, because that's the most important thing, is having the best people.
I see a big difference on the vacations. When somebody leaves, we just had a person that just finished up with a 2-week vacation, went to California and everything. And, you can see it on them.
Yes.
As far as getting recharged, to step away, you know what? We'll be here.
Right.
But, it's so important.
It is.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, when you own the business, it's probably a lot harder to step away than
It
it is
is.
for an employee who goes away. It's always on your mind, and it's on our mind this morning. For the rest of this hour, the Mid-Michigan Business Wrap. This morning's expert panel, Mary Stucco from Farm Bureau Insurance, Bob Hedlund from Hedlund Plumbing, Cheryl Freeborough from Hyundai of Lansing, and Peggy Doty is here from Doty Mechanical Heating and Cooling. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. We're back in a flash.